This week on the Analog Circle podcast, Resident Evil 9 could be releasing a lot sooner than we expected. We get new alleged details about the next Tomb Raider, and some of the features sound pretty exciting. Ninja Theory is celebrating the lead up to Hellblade 2 being released in a very engaging way. We're definitely going to talk about that a little later. And Take-Two finds themselves being portrayed as the villain by both gamers and developers. But all of these stories can be found here and more in episode 208 of the Analog Circle podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and I want to say welcome to the show. Welcome. It is always a pleasure and a privilege to have you guys here. Now, before we officially get the podcast started, if you would like to be a part of listener feedback, you can do that two different ways. You can either call in, and the phone number is 443-380-0281, and let your voice literally be heard, or you can email the show, and the email address is the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and let's get into what we all come here for, and that is the gaming news that went down. Let's go ahead and let's get things started with somewhat of a update. Now, I actually got this story from Nintendo Pal. So this is going to be an update and news on Remedy. Now, in its business review for the period between January 2024 and March 2024, Remedy Entertainment has revealed that development on the Max Payne 1 and 2 remake moved into the production readiness stage and is expected to go into full production in the second quarter of 2024, which we are officially in. Also, development for Control 2 is in the proof of concept stage and will be advancing to the production readiness stage during the second quarter of 2024 as well. So quite a few things are happening in 2024 with both the Max Payne remakes of 1 and 2 and Control 2. Now, Remedy also has acquired full rights to the Control franchise from 505 Games, buying the IP for 17 million euros. Wow. They have full control of the IP. Fantastic. And it also says they will be breaking the payments up into 3 payments. Now, they already made the first payment of 3.8 million, and they are expected to have the debt paid off by early 2025, which is fantastic. So for me, I'm very excited about both Max Payne 1 and 2 remakes, and just to hear that these guys are continuing to move forward, seeing the progress that's being made. No real big bad speed bumps. They got a big budget, the same type of budget as what was it called? It was the second game, Alan Wake 2, the same budget as that. It's also being backed by Take-Two or Rockstar Games. That are, oh man, those guys are in some trouble as well, but we're going to talk about that. But, yeah, it just seems great that these guys are continuing to move forward. They've bought back the rights to Control, which is excellent. Buying it for 17. You know what? I don't know how much that is in U.S. currency. I want to look that up just to see how much 17 million euros actually turns out to be when you break it down into U.S. cash, man. Let's see what we got here, because I am curious. Let's see. Let's go ahead. Let's go to our best friend. Well, our good friend. Let's go to Google. How much is 17 euros in U.S. currency?
17 euros equals $18.30.
I ain't say 17 euros. I said 17 million. How much is 17 million euros in U.S. dollars?
17 million euros equals $18,297,610.
God, dog, this is for one IP. Hold on, man. If I'm not mistaken, I am mistaken. That wasn't it. I was about to say, didn't somebody buy a studio for that much? But that didn't happen. But anyway, again, this is fantastic news to hear. Very, very glad to see that Remedy is moving forward. They got ownership of their own IP back as well. And again, they're going to be breaking that down into 3 different payments. And by early 2025, that should be paid off. But without further ado, let's go ahead and let's get into the next story that I actually got from Games Radar. So let's switch to some very positive Xbox news. Now, this might have been one of the biggest stories of the week, but Todd Howard has announced a few new features coming to Starfield on May 15th. And by the way, you guys, please pardon my voice. Still a little hoarse, so we're going to get through it again together. Another episode with a kind of bad voice, but pardon me. But here we go. So these features are coming on May 15th, which is only a couple of days away. Now, they will include new gameplay options that let you adjust the game's difficulty, such as how much damage you deal or the amount of healing you get from food or sleep. I've heard people talk about that. Of course, you guys know I have not played Starfield. So all of this is foreign to me, but listening to different podcasts and different shows, I've heard people bring up some of these problems that it looks like Todd Howard and the team will be fixing. So the difficulty was something that I heard from some people. So now, like I said, you're going to be able to set that. And when you set that difficulty, it's going to pretty much determine how much damage you deal or the amount of healing you get from food or sleep. You can turn off item weight and choose between 4 options for how much you can carry. I heard that was a huge turn off to the game were the weight options. Now, the options are greatly increased. These are the options you'll be able to choose from when it comes to the weight. It'll be greatly increased, normal, or reduced. But the trade-off is you net less XP if you lessen the burden, or a bit more if you make things weightier. You will also be able to add weight to ammo for further experience gains. But by far, I mean, all of that sounds good, but to me, by far, one of the best new features, and I think everybody across the board would agree with this, is the game will be getting a 60 frames per second mode. It's going to be getting that option. Fantastic. And some people may call this feature a little controversial, even because Todd Howard made it seem like this wasn't possible at first, but now it actually seems to be, which is very, very curious if you ask me. Now, it will also have detailed surfaces. These are some more of the other things that will be included in this update on May 15th. It will have detailed surface maps that should make it easier to explore your surroundings, as ship customization and the ability to access your ship's cargo from the player inventory menu. That sounds very, very good. Now, later down the line, Bethesda will be adding a major shattered space expansion along with a new land vehicle and official mod support. Dag, man. That's dope. That was another thing people were mad about. No land vehicles. These are all great things that they're adding to the game. I'm very happy to see this. But the question, now this is the thing that I'm curious about. When we hear these developers actually talk about 30 frames per second is an artistic choice. You know, this is what the vision of the game is that we saw it to be. And then we hear things like this, Todd Howard actually coming out and talking about, well, now these are going to be the new features. Doesn't that give what these developers say less weight? Doesn't it make it more unbelievable that these consoles are not capable of doing 60 frames per second? I mean, daggone, you had some people in the gaming community say that they were going to PC to get these 60 frames per second because the console, more so the Xbox, hasn't been able to do it. The Xbox Series X has not been able to deliver. But yet here we see this new update that's coming out May 15th, and it's going to give it 60 frames per second. That makes me wonder about Hellblade 2. Did that game necessarily have to be 30 frames per second? Or is it being held back by something? We're going to talk about that a little later. But for all of those guys that went out, bought a PC, hey man, more power to you. You know, for the 60 frames per second, you were lied to. Because hold on, this isn't the only game that has done this. Didn't Redfall do the same thing? It released at 30 frames per second. It was nothing they could do about it. Months later, they got it to 60 frames. Daggone. I'm trying to figure out, here it is. These are the things that Microsoft does where they just completely drop the ball. Isn't this, if I'm going to stop completely blaming Phil Spencer for everything. Because if I'm not mistaken, isn't this Matt Booty's job to be overlooking these projects, making sure that these developers have all of the tools, the things that they need in order to release a great game? Doesn't this fall under his jurisdiction, if I'm not mistaken? And it seems like these teams, no matter what it is, it seems like it's always a mess up. It's a slip up. It's a setback. Even with Forza, the latest Forza, people said it wasn't nearly as many cars as they were used to it being in the past. That it took a back seat. And Forza has been one of those games that has been consistently good, really good. But yet, even Forza fell short. Halo. It took Halo a long time to start to get that content that the game needed in order to move forward. It was a drought when that game came out, when it came to content. And months and months and months and months later, they finally get it on track. God, dog, what is going on? What is happening over here at Xbox, at Microsoft, that has these guys continuously dropping the ball when it comes to things like this? These are the things that kill you, that kill your business. When you say one thing and then you go back and you do another a couple of months later. I know some people said that Starfield should have just been completely put on ice until around now and have it released. I hear what they're saying, because it's no telling, with all of these features in the game, that game might have scored a 90. I mean, I don't know. I haven't played it, but it's sitting at like a 83, if I'm not mistaken, on Metacritic right now. Adding all of this stuff into the game, god darn, man, 60 frames per second, along with the difficulty settings, being able to choose how much weight you want to carry, being able to get around the map a lot easier, taking I guess the way I'm reading it, taking out some of the guesswork of where to go on the map, putting vehicles, ground vehicles into the game as well. God darn, man. I mean, it could have punched up another 6 or 7 points, possibly, with all of these features. But yet again, I commend them. I don't want to make this a negative thing. I commend Todd Howard and the team for going out there and making it right, getting it to where it should have been originally. But you've had too many of these mess ups just through the whole Xbox brand, this has been a problem. And I do commend them. But at the same time, I'm like, but dag, what is the problem? What is the problem? Why can't you just come out with a completely finished game, a complete product on day one? And I know people want to say that that's not possible in this day and age. Baldur's Gate 3. That's all I got to say. And I know y'all are going to say, man, come on, man. That's an exception to the rule. And you are right. I get that. But these features, they should have been there. And what I was going to say is I understand that they couldn't delay it. Starfield was, after the terrible launch of Redfall, they couldn't also have Starfield get delayed for another year or so. That would have just, they already tanking. I know in the numbers, but darn, I think that had just been too much. So I understand why they released it, but God, dog, when is it going to get to the point where these guys can release a complete game at launch with these kind of features? These are huge features that they're missing. And I'm just hoping that eventually they'll get there. We've been saying they're going to get there for years now. Like 5 or 6 years I've been saying they're going to get there. And they still continue to fall short. Matt Booty, look, somebody tell me, I'm sure this is under his watch. He needs to be held accountable for this. Phil Spencer done his bull spit. Believe me, this joker right here, man. God darn, came up on stage and just straight up lied to all of us. Had us believing VR was coming, and for people to say that VR is coming to Xbox, well, it ain't coming. It's just an Xbox themed headset from what I understand. But there's been so many things Phil Spencer has done that has been absolutely terrible for the Xbox brand. Horrible. But darn, some of this stuff has to start falling on somebody else's shoulders. And Mad Booty, if this is your I guess your expertise, your section of expertise where you're supposed to be looking over these developers, man, brother, I don't know. All I can say is, brother, hey man, you falling short, man. You're falling short on the doggone quality control. Anyway, man, again, this is great. It definitely brings up a question, the question of the week that we're going to go over a little later on in the podcast. But it's great for people that want to give it a second chance. But you know how we are as gamers. We get in there, we're hyped for it. If it doesn't perform, man, we out. We ain't sitting around waiting. It's 100 different games to play. And unfortunately for some, even though these features sound great, they sound fantastic. That 60 frames per second mode sounds awesome and all of the other features. But there are just going to be some people that are not going to go back to this game no matter what they put in there. Any of the features, they're going to be like, so what? They should have been there day one. But others will. But we'll see how this all shakes out. I'm sure the Digital Foundry, they'll probably be back in the lab looking at this stuff all over again, probably trying to break down why it was actually 30 frames per second versus 60, the different adjustments they made to make this happen. But yeah, we'll have to stay tuned. But let's go ahead and let's get into the next story. And I actually got this story from AP. So just on a side note, because I know we haven't talked about it in a while, but allegedly this month, a full reveal of EA Sports College Football will be shown, and it's being reported that EA Sports offered Football Bowl subdivision players a minimum of $600 and a copy of the game. And so far, more than 10,000 players have accepted. So that is dope. They do make money. EA is paying them and giving them a copy of the game for free. That's cool. So later on this month, hopefully we'll see something on it. That's $600. I know that's not a lot, but they said that that is the minimum, which means I'm sure that the bigger players in college, they probably will be getting quite a bit more, or at least bare minimum, a little bit more than the $600. But let's go ahead and let's get into the next story that I actually got from Games Radar. So we're all aware that Hellblade 2 releases on May 21st. Maybe not all of us are aware, but I definitely am, because I'm looking forward to seeing how this game comes out. But for that reason, to celebrate this, Ninja Theory said this on X. They said, quote, sharing something from Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 every day in May until launch. Day one, let's start with a new screenshot. End of quote. So for anybody that is very excited about this game, highly anticipating it, can't wait for it to come, it can't come soon enough, Ninja Theory will be posting something new every single day pertaining to Hellblade 2, whether it's a screenshot, it may be some videos, it may be something to do with the story, some of the different characters. I don't know, but they have at least another, what's today's date? Today is the 5th, and this comes out the 21st. So they got 20, 19, 18, 17, 16 more days of posting every single day in that 16-day window, something brand new about this game. So hopefully that'll be enough to pacify anybody that is excited about it. I've never seen anybody, to my knowledge, every day post something new about a game in the month that they're actually dropping it. I think this is really, really good, because that's one thing about Xbox that we've all talked about. Their marketing could really, really use a big, and I do mean big, pick me up to be able to get these games out there, get them advertised, get people excited about them. So them going this route, doing something new every day on social media, showing the game off, I'm hoping that that gets people excited, gets the buzz going about the game for some people that may not be familiar with the game, because truthfully, excuse me, y'all, but truthfully, the name Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, it's not a big name that a lot of casuals would probably be familiar with, to be fair. So by Ninja Theory actually getting out there and doing this is a positive. I mean, a very, very positive thing that they're doing to get some eyes and to get some attention on this game that'll be coming up very soon. So I definitely salute their efforts, and I'm definitely looking forward to the game when it actually releases again on May 21st. Let's go ahead though, guys, and let's get into the next story that I also got from Games Radar. So this next story really shows that for some gaming companies, you can never, and I mean never, make enough or do enough to keep your job. Now, Take-Two is shutting down 2 studios, Roll7 and Intercept Games. And this is a side note. I was late on finding out this, but Take-Two laid off. This is crazy. I don't know how I missed this, but they laid off 600 people. And unfortunately, these 2 studios were part of that mass layoff.
Move this man!
How the world does Take-Two? Man, anyway, listen, okay. Let me get back on track. So these 2 studios were a part of that mass layoff, and it was pointed out that Roll7 made 2 critically acclaimed games, Rollerdrome and Ollie Ollie World. I remember those 2. Ollie Ollie World, he was on a skateboard and whatnot. That thing looked like a lot of fun. A lot of people really enjoyed that game, but the game that really caught my attention was Rollerdrome, and that was actually a PlayStation timed exclusive where you on skates and whatnot, like in this kind of, I don't know if it was like a skating ring almost. It kind of reminded me of back in the day. I mean, you would have to be quite a bit older like myself, but they used to have this thing called roller derby back in the day. And I mean, they used to be tearing each other up, man. I mean, they would be checking each other on those skates. Boom! Knocking everybody across, well, knocking certain people across the doggone floor. It was amazing. So to me, Rollerdrome, even though it wasn't quite that, I mean, you had guns and you were actually doing this. It really, really caught my attention. But again, just to get back to the point, they made 2 critically acclaimed games. So the other thing is developers actually chimed in and brought up the fact that between them, these 2 studios had been nominated for a Golden Joystick Award and several other awards. And the games were profitable that they released. And I'm like, so if they were profitable, they were good games. People loved them. They were into them. They really liked them. What the world was the problem? Well, I'm going to get to that right now, because the biggest sign of corporate greed in this situation is on full darn display for all to see when it came to Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick, when his financial compensation more than doubled, going from $16 million to $42 million, which, I mean, I can't say 100% for sure, but I'm sure that was enough to keep the 2 studios open. But I'm sure it would have, even if it wasn't enough, that $42 million, I know it would have greatly helped, because these kind of games that these guys were making, these weren't AAA $150 million budget games. They were the pure definition of AA titles, but they were really good titles. And he shut them down, going again from 16 million to 42 million. That is absolutely nuts. And on top of that, Grand Theft Auto 5 alone, this game alone has made $8.5 billion since 2013, and that's not including how much NBA 2K makes every year with the loot boxes or whatever they're selling for points. I mean, everybody knows, I don't play 2K, but everybody knows that in order to get your character up to a certain point, you got to spend money. So they got the money machine of Grand Theft Auto that's made, again, $8.5 billion to date. And then you got 2K that comes out every year. I know they're making millions upon millions of dollars off of that. And they shut down 2 studios. Now, to put it, I mean, because it goes a little bit deeper than that, but to put it in perspective, Take-Two is around, they're worth around $24 billion in market capitalization. 24 billion. And I'm just sitting here. Now, trust me, this isn't any outrage. I ain't got no fake outrage or anything like that. But dag, man, it gets to the point where you have to, well, you don't have to do anything. But for me, I'll just speak for me. I'm sitting back saying to myself, dag, man, what does it take? What does it take to have these studios stay open or the layoffs not to happen? I mean, you're worth $24 billion and you just laid off 600 people, but your CEO went from making 16 million to 42 million. What's that? An increase of what? 36, 7, 8, 9, 41. That's an increase of like $26 million that this guy's making. $26 million. And that's the part where I'm like, darn, man, you know, if Good grief. Again, this is not me outraging. I mean, I do feel very bad. I mean, I sympathize with the people there. It's never easy losing a job, man. It's not. But I'm just sitting here and I'm just kind of baffled because I'm like, dag, man, none of the people on the board thought that, golly, man, you can't take that much more money and you're going to have all of these people lose their jobs as a result. I'm not saying that's the complete result of it because he upped his salary, but I'm sure that definitely had to have an impact on, these people being employed and shutting down the 2 studios. I mean, again, this is just a prime example that corporate anybody, it doesn't have to be corporate America. It can be any corporation. Everybody, it's no love at the end of the day. You can give your all to these corporations, do everything you can for them and make money, be profitable, do your job, proficiently, do it very well, do a great job. And you still ain't safe. You can still lose your job. And somebody like Take-Two, I mean, I know that a lot of different gaming companies are going through some things, but Take-Two, I just figured that if anybody was pretty safe, pretty cocooned in, and not really going to see any major losses of employment, I would have thought Take-Two, because these guys make money. Again, they made over $8 billion of a Grand Theft Auto 5. And I know that's been over an 11-year period. I get that, but still, that is a lot of money. And now Grand Theft Auto 6 is about to come out. That's about to go nuts. That's about to go completely into the doggone outer reaches of the galaxy with the numbers that game is going to do. I mean, because of course you can't compare numbers off of YouTube watches, as far as like how many people actually looked at a video. That doesn't necessarily mean that's going to trickle down into dollars being spent. But if you compare Grand Theft Auto 5's trailer with Grand Theft Auto 6, their it wasn't necessarily a gameplay trailer, even though it was gameplay kind of in there, but their trailer of GTA 6, the numbers were way more with GTA 6. It broke a record. It broke a YouTube record. So I'm just saying that to say that GTA 5 had a lot of eyes on it and it has made a lot of money, but GTA 6 also has those eyes and more that are on that game. So I'm sure that game is going to make even more money than Grand Theft Auto 5 did. And it's just unfortunate that you can have a thriving company. And of course, I don't know the ins and outs of the numbers, and I can only speak from the outside looking in. But if your CEO is able to give himself almost double the money for a raise, then that's where, my eyebrows have to go up and say, man, this is just greed. 16 million wasn't enough. You had to go to 42 million. God darn, Zelnick is trying to get the bag off of that. But anyway, man, I truly hope that these guys, they land on their feet. They're able to find work. It's just starting to get so hard though. Like, where do you go if you're in the gaming industry, man? Where do you turn when so many different companies are letting hundreds of people go at a crazy clip, where it's just hard to find work? It's things like this that make me wonder, what is the future of gaming going to be? I know we got this AI thing that's kind of on the horizon. We know Microsoft, they're being heavily invested in it. We've already heard that the AI will be taking away, even more jobs in the industry. They got this, we talked about it a couple of months ago, them trying to take AI voices or your voice and trying to make the character's voice sound like your voice and learning your patterns of how you speak. I mean, they trying to take so many jobs out of the gaming industry. It's just, it's pretty alarming, but again, this is just another story of huge corporate greed from a CEO that saw an opportunity and he took it. And as a result, I'm not saying it again, just to be clear, I'm not saying that him actually giving himself almost a double the amount of money raise crippled these people or got the 600 people out of there. I'm just saying, I think, because I don't have any evidence of it, but I think in my mind that at least had to have some kind of impact on what happened to the 600 unfortunate people that lost their jobs over at Take-Two. But we'll definitely see what happens with this. I can guarantee you one thing, though. I can guarantee you this. This happened. 600 people are gone, unfortunately. Zelnick giving himself double the money. I can guarantee you Grand Theft Auto 6 is still going to sell. It's still going to sell like gangbusters, because that's one thing. That's why I'm not going to sit up here and act like I got fake outrage. I have more so sympathy, for the people or empathy, like, tag, man, that really sucks, but, yeah, people can sit up here and say, oh man, this is terrible. I can't believe they did this. Those same people are going to be the same ones going out there getting Grand Theft Auto 6 and playing the game and enjoying it. The story, the online, whatever the case may be. I can guarantee you that. That game is going to sell crazy. This is not going to do anything to impact the numbers. But some people will say, oh no, I'm standing on my square. Man, you ain't going to do nothing. You're going to be in line or on the virtual line, downloading the game soon as it comes out. It's sad, but true. Because nobody cares, or everybody cares about something until it actually impacts what you want to do or what you want to be a part of. It's something that you want to get. It's like, man, I don't know. You know what? Well, that's just business. They start making up all kind of excuses to go out there and do what they want to do, and that's just human behavior. It ain't personal. It's just the way it is. But anyway, I've harped on this story long enough. We're going to go ahead and we're going to move into, and again, before we get off of the story, I truly, truly hope that those 600 people that, did lose their jobs over at Take-Two, I really, really hope and pray that they actually land on their feet and can find a much, much better situation that they can, that they'll be a part of. But let's go ahead though, guys, and let's get into the next story, which I actually got from WCCF Tech. So let's take a walk down Rumor Boulevard.
Rumor has it is something that only I know.
Yes, indeed. So at this point in time, it's been over 2 years since Crystal Dynamics announced a new Tomb Raider. This being developed that's actually being developed in, oh man, I'm all tongue-tied. Let me start this over again. God darn. Okay. So me and you, we all know it's been over 2 years since Crystal Dynamics actually announced a new Tomb Raider game that is actually being developed in Unreal Engine 5. They announced this 2 years ago. Now, when you fast forward to today, we have some new information about the game being reported from Insider. Now, I don't know this guy's track record, so I always like to caution everybody. Take what I'm about to say with the mustard seed of truth, because I don't know this guy's track record, but this alleged insider has this information, and his name is V. Scooper, who says the new Tomb Raider installment will be open world, with Laura roaming vast zones with her motorcycle and parachute, and the game will be released in less than a year if everything goes as planned. Now, hold on. So it's saying the first thing, it's going to be open world. Lara Croft is going to be on a motorcycle going through vast lands with a parachute. I'm taking it, the motorcycle going to be able to jump off of cliffs. You're going to be able to parachute down to the ground or whatever. I don't know what that'd be a little interesting though. I wonder how that would work. I mean, you on a heck of an incline. Is she going to be able to make it up the incline without the bike flipping over? I don't know how that's going to work. It sounds interesting though. Her actually being in an open world, because that would be the first time it's been open world. It's always been semi-open world, but an open world with her actually driving or riding on a motorcycle through vast zones and having this parachute on her. I don't know. This could be interesting. And again, according to him, V Scooper, the game is going to release in less than a year if everything goes as planned. Now, he also said the game will take place in northern India. Now, the game will also have a new feature based on recruiting teams and allies to strategically aid you in missions and defeating rivals. Now, there's emphasis on a new non-lethal combat option as well. And it's a possibility that we could see this during Summer Game Fest 2024. Now, this is, listen, man, anytime I hear Unreal Engine 5, brothers and sisters, y'all know I am a sucker for Unreal Engine 5. So that right there perked up my ears. I don't even know if I wasn't expecting for them to actually use Unreal Engine 5 Crystal Dynamics. I mean, man, this is so dope. So outside of that, just hearing about the different features, it being an open world, her being able to traverse on her motorcycle to different places, being able to actually recruit teams and allies to help you on different missions. That almost sounds like the, doggone, what's the name of the engine? The Nemesis system engine that's actually getting an update. When we went over that, this is like one of the new things that they're adding to their system, the Nemesis system, to be able to have you actually be able to recruit people that can help you on missions and, hire them as some help. And we were talking about how that could possibly, man, I'm tongue tied, but possibly be one of the features inside of Wonder Woman, the new Wonder Woman game that'll be coming up hopefully very, very soon. But just hearing these different features, knowing it's being made in Unreal Engine 5, I am very, very interested to see what happens with this. If we can get a trailer of this at Jeff's show, I was going to go out there and say, man, I don't know, man. If Xbox wanted to, kind of set it on fire a little bit, would they go back and get the Tomb Raider IP exclusive? Now, we know Phil Spencer, that goes against all of his unfortunate gaming morals to be able to do something like that. But darn, you know what though? I would not put it to the side for PlayStation though. You never know. They haven't had Uncharted come out in quite a while. They could possibly, I don't know, that's a bit of a stretch. I don't know if they would actually make it exclusive, but we do know that PlayStation, they have no problem going out there and getting with these different developers, these different publishers, and making some deals. So, I mean, I guess only time will tell. Hopefully, again, it'll be at Games Fest or one of these different shows that will be coming up in the next month or so. But we will see. I'm excited for this. I don't know if you guys are Tomb Raidered out. I think she's been gone long enough where I've actually missed her, the character, and really wouldn't mind getting into another adventure with her. But we will see. But let's go ahead and move on into the next story. Keeping with the theme of the older gaming franchises, I actually got this next story from CBR. Now, Resident Evil 9 may have a release window of January 2025, according to Dusk Golem, who seems to be, now this guy, I've heard his name quite a few times. This guy does seem to be a reliable source. So Of course, you can't take it 100%, still take it with a mustard seed of truth, just like with the Tomb Raider story. But Dusk Golem, he does, he has a little bit more cachet than the good brother. What was his name again? V Scooper. But so according to Dusk Golem, who of course is a source for Capcom and Resident Evil news, he had actually tweeted this out. He said, quote, "I have good news / rumors." Oh man, rumor.
Rumor has it there's something
we
that
got
only
to
I
do
know.
that, guy dog. And all right, so news and rumors to deliver on Resident Evil 9. Now, the possible delay I had heard murmurs about can be paused aside. Resident Evil 9 should be revealed pretty soon and released next year, if what I heard previously holds true. It should be in January. The game would have had about 7 years in development. End of quote. So, excuse me, according to him, yet again, similar to Tomb Raider, in a year or so, Resident Evil 9 should be releasing. And this game has had a 7-year development cycle to add to to this title. 7 years of development. That is really, really wild. Now, I skipped out on Resident Evil 8. I'm not a fan of the first person perspective of Resident Evil. Of course, they got my money with Resident Evil 4 remake, because that's the traditional, well, that's not even traditional Resident Evil per se, but it's the third person perspective that I enjoy playing games from. And I will give them credit though, Capcom, because if I'm not mistaken, and I don't think I am, they actually added a third person perspective mode inside of Resident Evil 8. A little later on, maybe like a year ago, I believe they did that. So that was really dope. So if this is the case with Resident Evil 9, since they did make Resident Evil 8 that third person perspective, I'm hoping that they would do this with Resident Evil 9, or at least give the player the choice out the gate to either play it in first person or third person. If they did that, I'm sure I would definitely give it a shot. But yeah, I'm very excited about this. Maybe again, just like he mentioned, this less than a year time frame, and we should be hearing something pretty soon. Maybe it's at the Summer Game Fest 2024, Jeff Keighley show. Maybe we get a look of it, a look at it, a glimpse of it there at the show. I'm sure it could get us pretty excited. Capcom, they have been doing very well lately when it comes to their games. They have been really knocking it out of the park. They've been doing excellent. I would have wished. Now, Resident Evil, I'm a fan. I'm not going to say I'm a big fan, but I am a fan of Resident Evil. But I became a bigger fan, and it didn't happen until the latest Devil May Cry. I think it's Devil May Cry 5, whichever was the last one that they released. Man, I got into that game. God damn, that game was awesome. Fantastic game. Man, it was my first time. I got to tell y'all, just on a side note, that was my first time playing a DMC game all the way through. I played demos of some of the very early ones from PS2. But man, when I got into that game, golly, the combat was so smooth. Graphics looked amazing. Story was, the story was what it was, brother. It was what it was, but that wasn't the highlight for me. It wasn't a bad story, but it ain't nothing. It was all right. But for me, the highlight was the graphics and the gameplay. That gameplay was so smooth, and the different abilities that you could get for Dante, and I forgot, what's his name? Nero? I think he had the arm that would rejuvenate and whatnot, or he got it chopped off. Hopefully I'm not ruining the story. God, dog, I'm gonna just stop right there. But yeah, it was just so dope, man. It was so cool. Then the guy who had he had on all black. I don't know. That story might have been kind of good though. Cause it definitely had a bit of a twist to it. At the end, that joint wasn't bad. It was all right. But yeah, I would have much rather seen them actually, talking about a new DMC. Cause I am waiting on that 100%. But if Resident Evil 9 has to come out first, then it is what it is. That's one of their big money makers right now. And hopefully once that releases, then maybe we get something on the next DMC. But we shall see. Oh, man, you know what? Speaking about games, though, I want to let y'all know that I just finished up Spider-Man 2. Golly. Dang. Man, and I'm going to tell you something, man. I put in 20 hours. It took me 20 hours to beat that game. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, it actually took me 19. I thought it said 17. It was wrong. When I cut off the PlayStation 5 and turned it back on and looked at the progress of it, said it was 19 hours. So the two of those are literally an hour apart as far as like how much playtime I actually put into them. And this is the thing I'll say about Spider-Man 2. The game, man, let me just break it down real quick. The gameplay was so smooth, so good, man. It was so good. The different abilities that you could get for both Spider-Man and Miles Morales, I loved it. Fantastic. Chef's kiss. The story, and this is no spoilers. The story was good. It was actually good. I enjoyed it. Came with not like twist that you couldn't necessarily see coming. Some of it kind of played with you a little bit where you thought one thing, but then it was another. But nothing that was like completely out of left field. But the story, I thought it was a cool story. I thought it was pretty good. But for me, if I had to give it a score, I would give it I'm teetering between an 8.5 and an 8.75. And the reason why is because as great as the game is, I can tell you this off the bat. I did not enjoy it more than Ratchet and Clank. I didn't. Ratchet and Clank to me was just at its core, just a much more fun game. That's the thing about Rift Apart. It's just a fun game. It just has a fun factor that I just don't find in so many games. So that's just, the fun factor was just incredible. Spider-Man 2, don't get it twisted. It is fun. It's a lot of fun. It's just a different kind of fun. But for me, the 8.5 to 8.75, I give it that because, and this isn't a spoiler because I'm not going to go into detail about it, but I just want to put out there why I gave it the score I gave it. It was because these boss fights, they took way too long. Some of them got to the point, and I understand that, these bosses, they're supposed to be epic. They're supposed to be big. I get that. But sometimes it is a such thing as overstaying your welcome and actually taking away from what the boss fight could have been. If you had shortened it, if you had trimmed it up a lot, it would have been way more memorable. And it got to the point where I was getting a little frustrated. I'm like, man, this is taking way too long. It got to the point where, and for any of you guys that have played it, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Of course, we're going to probably be different on certain things, but those boss fights, I was like, come on, man, this is getting frustrating. This is ridiculous. This thing should be over by now. And I was like, man, it's just taken away from the magic that could have been. And I'm like, God, dog, man, here we go again. Oh my goodness. Cause towards and I'm gonna tread carefully here. I promise you, no spoilers, but towards the end of the game, I'm going to tell you this, the beginning and the middle and the sub middle, like going towards the end, I was having a blast. Game was awesome all the way through up until you get to that teetering towards the tail end of the game. And I was like, man, this really took a bit of a turn for the worse to a certain degree. You know, it slowed down some things. I felt like they were relying on those fights way too much. And it was a disappointment. It was not even a bit of a disappointment. It was a disappointment, you know, but the redeeming factors of the game as a whole, what that game is, the technical marvel, man, that thing, no pun intended with the Marvel part, but that thing is a semi-technical marvel in the sense that when I was fighting in puddles of water, you could actually see the reflections of Spider-Man in the water, or Miles Morales, you know, well, they're both Spider-Man, but y'all know what I'm saying, whichever character it was at the time, you could actually see the water, the reflections, you know, while you were fighting and things like that. I was like, man, this is so nice. So, you know, and then the physics in the game, the destruction of the environments. I mean, don't get it twisted. The game is still fantastic, but that later half of the game just definitely docked off some points. If they had just kept it the way it was in the middle, I mean, the beginning, the middle, and the sub middle, that game could have got like a 9 out of 10 easily. So I think I have to put it at like a solid, might not even be an 8.75. I give it an 8.5 because I had to knock off those points for those boss fights. Man, it was just terrible. But anyway, that game is wrapped up. Highly recommended though. Definitely recommended. I saw it all the way through all of the credits, because you got 2 different sets of credits. No spoilers at all, but y'all know the deal. If y'all have seen any Marvel movies, they stick with that same trend. And you get something there. You get something there. But anyway, so now I've actually started Saints Row. Saints Row, it's not 4 or Saints Row 5. It's not Saints Row 5, but the latest Saints Row that came out, I just started that. I got about 2 hours in that. And that game right there, I can already tell you, that's going to be a solid 7. I'm pretty sure. It is a fun game, man. It's nothing wrong with it. It's actually a fun game. Again, another game that got completely destroyed by a lot of not developers, pardon me, but reviewers that said the game was terrible. It wasn't that good. Like I said, I'm 2 hours in. It is fun, man. It is a lot of fun. I mean, I've been enjoying it. Got different weapons already. I got the people with me, you know, my crew, was setting up shop, getting ready to make some things happen. And it's just been cool, man. It's been really, really good. Like I said, now I do want to put the caveat out there. I did get the game for like $30. So you got to keep that in mind, you know, with the way that I'm grading it. If I had spent 70 on it, would I have been a little more upset? Probably not, actually. I mean, because for me, a 7 isn't a bad game. For a lot of people, if you don't get a 9 or a 10, it's a bad game. That's just not my that's just not my score system. That's just not for me. But a game that's a 7 is still a fun game. It's solid. It's fundamentally sound. I'll put it that way. Again, I'm still early on with the story. I'm just getting to some good stuff that's about to happen, but the gameplay is good, man. That game, I'm gonna give it up for him for that. That gameplay is fun. Darn, that joint is fun. It's a lot of fun. So So for anybody that has been on the fence about I don't know if you want to call it Saints Row 5 or the latest Saints Row that came out, I would definitely get it on the sale. Don't get it for the full 70. I don't know. Like I say, for me, I wouldn't be upset, but if you can get it cheaper, get it cheaper. And if you can get it cheaper and support the developer, even though, darn, I don't think Volition is around anymore, doggone. But if you can get it and, get it for a good price, then yeah, I would recommend definitely picking it up and seeing what it's about, man. You just might enjoy it. But anyway, let's go ahead though. Let's continue on with the game and news. And trust me, we are almost out of here. But, we got this next story that I actually got from The Verge. Now, this is an update, but Microsoft officially announced their Xbox Game Showcase, which will take place on June 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And in addition to that, now that was cool. We had covered that a couple of weeks ago. It wasn't the official word, but it was a rumor out there that it was going to be June 9th. Turned out that was true. But the thing that was left out that I covered during that episode was, in addition to that, they will also have some kind of direct. I think it was like redacted direct, something afterwards. And I'm taking it's going to be similar to what they did with Starfield last year, where after the main show ended, they actually had Starfield and they went into all of this in-depth, conversation about the game, how long it took and, to develop and all of the things that they were putting into it. So I'm sure it's going to be something on the lines of that. But during that direct, it seems like they're going to, similar to Starfield, they're going to focus on one game. And many believe that it's going to be the next Call of Duty because of the logo. But now I don't know about that. And in my opinion, I don't think you need to dedicate a whole direct to a game that sells millions of copies, that already has a name, a big name in the gaming culture. I don't think you need to make a show completely dedicated to that. So what I'm hoping is this is possibly a new Activision IP. And we've heard about this rumored Activision IP, this new IP that they've been working on for at least a year now, that they've been, kind of head down working on this. And, I'm just hoping that it's something like that. Again, Call of Duty, it's a big name, but come on, Microsoft, you can do better than that. Give us something that we're not expecting. And that's what I'm hoping we get. Call of Duty is so predictable. So I'm hoping that they put those signs up there, that logo, to actually throw us off, where when that show does start, it's some kind of brand new IP, like I said, possibly from Activision or something like that, because that's the kind of show that you would need something like that for, something that doesn't have a name, something that's brand new, something that needs all of the attention on it in order to get the word out about this game. You need this kind of event for it, not Call of Duty. So, only time will tell whether or not that is true. We'll have to stay tuned and see. But the other thing that I do want to mention is, it's worth noting that this will be the first Xbox showcase where they can feature games from Xbox Game Studios, Activision, Bethesda, and Blizzard. So they could have a super stacked show on top of the fact, new Gears, on top of all of those different developers and publishers. On top of that, a new Gears is possibly being shown as well. Gears 6, or maybe the Gears collection possibly showing up on the stage. It could be marvelous. And I'm sitting up here and I'm excited about the show. I'm happy about it. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm excited. And I know this is gonna come off crazy. I don't want it to. I don't. I promise you I don't. But I can't help but to think, and y'all know what I'm going to say. Darn. How many of these games are going to go to PlayStation?
Who's this man?
I can't help it, man. I'm sitting here and I'm saying to myself, these games are on the clock. And some people that believe that Starfield is getting this 60 frames per second to get it geared up to go to PlayStation later on. There's some people that truly believe that they don't want to have a Pentiment situation be on 100 when it comes to them actually bringing Starfield over to the PlayStation. And we have to remember that when Phil Spencer was asked in that interview, was Starfield going over to PlayStation, that brother said pretty much, no comment. That brother wouldn't answer. He said he couldn't say one way or the other. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, these guys could have the best, and I know it's not that, but the best E3 show ever. The best E3 season show ever in the history of gaming. And all most people are going to be thinking is, I wonder, is that coming to PlayStation? When is that coming to PlayStation? How many months or years is it going to take for that to come to PlayStation? And it's like, darn, again, the mistakes of Xbox, the mistakes of leadership over there at the brand. Here it is. You got Activision. You got Bethesda. You got Call of Duty on your doggone, not just on your console, because it's been on your console, but you own it. And all everybody is going to be wondering is, when is it coming to PlayStation? God darn it. Come on, man. Either way, though, I mean, some people, listen, man, there's some of these theories are getting out of control, okay? People talking about that they think Gears collection is actually going to go over to PlayStation. Come on, man. Come on. God darn. Can we get some respect? Can it be some level of respect in some kind of way? People saying it's going over there. That's why they're doing the Gears collection, because PlayStation needs to catch up with the stuff. Come on, man. God darn it. But I mean, we're going to see. We are going to see. Could y'all imagine, though? Golly, could you imagine? Because people are deciphering this stuff. Me, I'm not into deciphering. I ain't got it like that. I just don't. But some people are taking what Sarah Bond tweeted out, or she put on X with the, and this is not verbatim, but her pretty much saying that they're excited about the show. And she put a green heart up there and she put a blue heart up there. And people were like, wait a minute. Does that mean you're going to be showing some love during your showcase to PlayStation? Is that what you are insinuating, ma'am? That that's what y'all are going to be doing? And I'm sitting there and I'm saying to myself, initially, I was like, nah, that's not what they're going to do. Not at all. That's not it. But then I thought about it. I'm like, oh, no, man, this is not, how can I say this? This is not something that I couldn't not see happening, because Phil Spencer has went out there and said, play on everything. PlayStation, we love PlayStation. Congratulations on the numbers and all of this. We are the world. We are the children type of talk. So with her putting a green heart and a blue heart, God darn, how much of an ultimate betrayal? I mean, it's already betrayal going on, gaming betrayal. Okay. I mean, this stuff, these people don't know us or anything like that. So it's not like real betrayal, but I'm talking about just in gaming terms. How much betrayal would that be if they got up on the stage and they had the nerve, to even slightly mention PlayStation on their show stage? You know, we want to show love to PlayStation. We want to show love to Nintendo. And just to let you guys know that we're all one ecosystem. And the game that we're showing next is going to be on all platforms. And we can all play together. And when we all play together, we all win. Whoa, man. Xbox camp going to be in shambles. Oh, man. I'm hoping. I'm going to be in shambles. God darn, I don't think this is healthy for gaming. I hope, man. I truly hope that they don't get up on that stage and do that. Man, we are just slightly over a month away from that show. And again, I'm hoping, I have a good feeling that it's going to be a really good show, because last year's show was the best E3 they had in I don't know how long. You know, so I'm really excited to see what they do with this, excited to hear the announcements and all of that stuff. But I'm hoping, just for the love of gaming, do not mention PlayStation. They should not be mentioned on your stage. But that blue heart, though. That blue heart is it's a little alarming, but we shall definitely see what happens with this whole situation, whether or not Call of Duty is the game that they're going to be showing off in that direct, or if it's going to be a brand new IP that we had no idea about, but we will see. But let's go ahead and let's get into the final story for the week. And man, PlayStation, woo, this is a doozy. So I got this story from The Gamer. So like I mentioned, PlayStation, man, they have found themselves in some very hot water over Helldivers 2. And it all started with players on Steam having to sign into PSN whenever they wanted to play the game, which resulted in PC players review bombing the game on Steam. And I don't understand this. I mean, look, listen, I'm not a PC guy. I pray I never become a PC dude, because I'd rather play on console. That's just where I'd rather be. But what is the big deal of just signing in on PSN? What is the problem? Any PC guys out there, let me know, because it seemed like fake outrage if you ask me, but it could be something to this. But these guys were mad about it, review bombed the game on Steam. And now on top of that, now that's bad enough, but that's not the worst of it. But to me, the bigger problem is countries without PSN access can no longer purchase the game, and that comes out to be an unbelievable amount of 177 countries that cannot access this game because they don't have PSN in their countries. Now, the way it works is Steam divides it up into regions. So because of that, it's bad. Now, one thing is clear though. Creative director of Helldivers 2, John, I believe his last name is Pausted, does seem to support players who are choosing to leave negative reviews and requesting refunds, suggesting it helps Arrowhead negotiate with Sony. And also, I want to bring up the fact that Steam DB, now this is a person over on X, I believe. His name is Steam DB, D as in David, B as in boy. He made a post on X that had a list of countries he had a list of countries the game couldn't be purchased in. And in the box, it had a text that said, quote, "This package cannot be activated or purchased in specific countries," end of quote. So the question now is, what happens to the people that actually bought the game? Can they still play the game? And the thing that I found about that text that was interesting is it said that, this package cannot be activated or purchase. Now, if they're saying activated, does that mean like the initial activation of the game, or does that literally mean it can no longer be activated, aka played while you're in this region? Or purchase, of course, the purchase part, we know that. But I'm just wondering about the people that have possibly bought this game already. Do they still have access to the? You know what? Hold on. Let's see if we can find this together. Let's see. How can I word this though? Do people that bought Helldivers 2 still have access to the game in countries without PSN?
According to PC Gamer, while merely an admittedly odious inconvenience for most players, PC users in countries not covered by PSN might be locked out of the game entirely.
Dang! Darn! So they can't even get back in. So that access is completely locked out. 177 countries. Woo! PlayStation, god darn.
Move this man!
Wow. Yeah, they got to get that together. I mean, PSN not being available in 177 countries. They playing on Steam and whatnot. Yeah, I'd be hot about that, man. I would definitely be upset. Shout out to Steam though for giving them back their money, giving them their money back, because it was noted that some people, and I guess I should have pieced the two together, but they did say that some people that actually had way more than the hours that are required in order to get a refund actually were still getting a refund, even though they were over the allotted amount of hours that you're able to play before you get a refund. So yeah, they definitely have put themselves in a very, very, very bad spot with this. A game that was really doing well this year. Arrowhead, I mean, no fault of theirs. You can't blame the developer. This is on PlayStation, Sony, them deciding to do this, actually having people get locked out because they don't have PSN over there. This is terrible, man. And it's a good thing. What I was going to say is it's a good thing they're able to get it from Steam, because PlayStation, they are the worst, the absolute freaking worst when it comes to customer service. Man, these jokers are horrible, absolutely deplorable when it comes to that. I bought Ninja Gaiden, the arcade version of the game, on the PlayStation 5. They had it up there on the store. It wasn't even on sale. I bought it for the full price. I was like, darn, I've been looking for this original version of Ninja Gaiden since, the early 2000s. I've been trying to find it. And I was like, shoot, they actually got it, picked it up, tried to boot it up. That joker did not boot up. It was not compatible with the PlayStation 5. I tried to call these jokers. I went online to try to get my money back. I went into the chat and tried to get my money back. Nobody from Sony gave me my daggone $15 back. I was pissed. Well, I don't know if it was 15. Might have been 10. But whatever the case, I wanted my darn money back so I could have put it towards getting something else. Those jokers never refunded my money. They never got back to me. Never even really heard my case. I was on there for like a week trying to get in contact with these guys, and they kept saying, well, nobody is available right now. Please try back later. I was like, man, this is the darn worst. So yeah, PlayStation, their customer service sucks. So thankfully for these people, at least when it comes to them getting their refund for a game that they cannot play, similar to me not being able to play Ninja Gaiden, you know, at least they'll be able to get a better outcome with getting their money back. But PlayStation, you are on the darn clock. Similar to Drake, you on the darn clock, man, with a response. But anyway, for a response. But anyway, though, guys, that is the end of the gaming news this week. And this week, we will not be going over video game theater, unfortunately. I'll bring it back one of these days. But, matter of fact, do you guys even listen to the video game theater when I play it? I'm just curious to know. I don't even know if you guys like it or not. Get back to me about that though. But what I want to get into is the final section of the podcast. And of course, I know you guys saw the question from the beginning, but let's go over it officially. And I alluded to it much earlier in the episode. So, is the Series S getting left behind? That's the question. And the reason why I'm asking this is because in those notes from Todd Howard, when he was talking about these different updates that are going to be taking place on Starfield, he actually mentioned the 60 frames per second was going to be, it was going to be for Xbox Series X. It was no mention of Xbox Series S at all. So that made me believe, look, is it finally getting to the point where Microsoft is like, look, we got to wean off of this. Yeah, we know it's more S's out there than X, but people that bought the S, we get it, but we got to kind of move forward and let the X do what it can do. And, as a result of them doing that, they're actually able to do this 60 frames per second magically. 60 frames per second. Matter of fact, let's see something. Okay. Does the 60 frames per second update for Starfield mean Xbox Series S? Let's see. Let's get to the news. All I'm seeing is Xbox Series X, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series X. So yeah, no mention of Xbox Series S. I'm not getting a 100% definitive answer on this, but according to the news that I'm looking at and I'm skimming through, they're only talking about Xbox Series X. So yeah, I mean, does this mean that the Series X is actually getting left behind? Maybe possibly seeing their development teams actually take advantage of the Series X finally and cut it loose from the Xbox Series S. Let the S do what it can do, but let the X do what it can do. And I mean, show the power off of this console. I'm curious to know you guys thoughts, you guys opinions. I would love to hear from y'all. Again, is Xbox Series S getting left behind? You can be a part of the conversation two different ways, either by calling in at 443-380-0281 and let your voice be heard, or you can email the show. And the email address is simply theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. I was your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and before I get out of here, I want to say thank you guys again. Thank y'all for being here. Really, really appreciate it. So as always, guys, before we officially wrap this show up and put a bow on it, always remember one thing. It is not about the consoles. It is about the games. So possibly on Wednesday, depending on y'all, when we do it again, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.